How's it going, everybody? My name is Zachary Easley. I'm a solutions consultant here at ServiceNow, and today I'd like to take some time to talk to you a little bit about how tag-based service mapping works, how we get it set up, and how we can start discovering our cloud resources today. Before we dive too much further, I'd like to quickly just show our safe harbor notice. This is just to cover my back in case anything changes in the future. Moving on. Here we have just a quick high-level overview of the steps we're going to be walking through today. We are not going to be diving too in-depth into these first two steps, as this presentation assumes that you have a basic understanding of the CMDB and discovery, though we will quickly touch on how we can start to get this ball rolling with these first two steps. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the instance. So again, we're going to briefly touch on those first two steps, as we are assuming that everybody who's watching this video has a mid server and a discovery running on that mid server. But for anyone who might not be quite there yet, we're going to quickly jump into how we can get a mid server installed and validated and discovering. So to get things started, go ahead and type ITOM guided setup into your filter navigator, and you'll have this ITOM guided setup module here for you to click into. Once you jump in, you will have a get started button over here, and that will bring you to these different guided setups that you can walk through. For our case, we're going to be walking through the mid server and our discovery. So once you click in, we have a couple tasks here to complete. The first one being creating our mid server user. This is going to be the user profile in your ServiceNow instance that is going to be logging on to that mid server. As you can see here, it's a very simple form, whatever username you want to give to that mid server user and its password. As you can see here, I already have one built out, so I'm going to go ahead and mark this as complete. Moving on, we have our download and install mid server task. So as you click into here, we have a bunch of different flavors of downloads for your mid server, whether it be a Windows MSI installer, a Docker recipe, or a Linux download. You can go ahead and grab those here, as well as if you prefer to download it as a zip, you can grab that right here. I've already installed a mid server, so I'm going to mark this as complete as well. And the final piece will be validating that mid server. Now, as you can see, I already have a mid server built up and validated. I'm going to jump into that just to show you. As you can see, everything's up and running, and I have also run discovery with this mid server. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that might look like. From a discovery perspective, I like to jump into the discovery schedules. And from here, I like to click Cloud Discovery. This is going to give you an easy walkthrough for getting that cloud mid-server discovering and grabbing all the information you need. It's very simple. You're going to select your provider, in this case AWS, whatever you'd like to name it, and then it'll walk you through the service account. So actually, let's go ahead and just take a look at what that looks like. Here it is. So we can either build a new service account, or we can select one that we've already created. In my case, I do already have one set up and created, but I'm not going to quite walk through testing this, as I already have run cloud discovery. So let's take a look at what we've actually discovered and some of the resources that we have at our disposal. So here I am inside of our cloud resources dashboard, and really quickly, I just want to show you the kind of data that we are grabbing now that we've run cloud discovery, right? And our main focus, as for today's presentation, is grabbing those tags, right? So when we've gone out and run discovery, we've found this EC2 instance, we can see all of the related items, you know, when it comes to the dependency maps. But what we're really interested in are these tag values. Now, these are tag values that were built in AWS and discovered by ServiceNow. And now that we have our tag values, we can start to utilize this tag data to begin building our tag-based service maps. Now for today's presentation, I'm not going to be using this specific EC2 instance, but this gives you an idea as to what it is we were looking to discover so that we're set up to move on to the next step of getting our tag-based service map built. Now before we dive too much deeper, I do want to show you how exactly we grab those tags. So if we jump into our discovery patterns here, this module should be in your instance. We can type in AWS inventory, and now we can take a look at this specific discovery pattern that goes out to your Amazon AWS instance and starts to search for those key and value pairs. Now this pattern should be by default in your instance, but if it is not, you can go ahead and grab that from the ServiceNow store. But this will be a crucial part of making sure that we can build these maps. So now here we are inside the tag-based services module here. Now, right off the bat, we can see these have some kind of wacky naming conventions like rewards, : dev, rewards processing, : QA. We're going to get into more about what that naming convention really means in the near future. But for today, we're going to go ahead and just take a look at one of these service maps so we can get an idea of what the final product is going to sort of look like, right? So we have our entry point and we have our service map, and that's relating us to these 4 CIs. Now we don't have a whole lot of data in here, but that's besides the point. The idea is this is where we want to end up. So for today's demonstration, I'm actually going to go ahead and, let me jump on back to there. I'm going to go ahead and actually delete this rewards processing QA service map, and we're going to build it up from scratch. So give me a moment while this deletes. Okay, so now that tag-based service is deleted, we can go ahead and move on to the next step of actually bringing it back. So the first thing we want to do is go to our CI tag categories. And from here, this is where we can start to define the types of keys that we are looking to correlate. So for this example, I'm going to jump into application service, and we can see here a couple different variations of tags that we're looking to grab for building this service. Now, these all have very similar names like app service, application, app service. They all are relatively pointing to the same things. The idea here being that if you have one resource that is marked as app for its key, and another resource that's marked as app service or something else, we can go ahead and correlate all those tag keys so that we are talking about the same application. Because as you move between different departments and different versions, sometimes these keys can shift in terms of their naming conventions. So this way we can build out and ask for all of the keys that we are looking to add to this CI tag category. I'd also like to note that there are multiple different categories that we see, often like Kubernetes or environment as being categories, but again, they all work the exact same way. We are looking for these specific keys, and from there, we can start mapping those keys and values to building our specific maps. So let's go ahead and move on over to our families. So here's our tag-based service families. If we go ahead and click into one of these, for this example, our application services, and here's where we can start to peel back that funky naming convention. So what we're doing here is we are defining the logic for how we want to correlate these tag values to each other. So as we saw earlier, we built those application service tags. Those had names such as, or key names such as app service, what have you, and our tag category for environment with tag names such as env or environment or whatever, what have you. Now what we've done here is we've said, okay, let's go ahead and take all the tags that have these application service keys and all the tags with these environment service keys, and let's correlate their values together. So if we actually scroll down here, we can start to see kind of what this is starting to look like. Actually, you know what, a better way to view this is by taking a look at those candidates. So here we can see our application name being rewards processing and the environment being in that QA environment. Same here. Here's the one we deleted earlier, our rewards processing application key and our environment key being QA. So if we actually just go ahead and select this service that we want to go ahead and begin mapping, again, these are coming from our AWS environment, and we go ahead and map these selected, you'll see it's incredibly quick. We've successfully mapped this service because we have all of the data in the CMDB already. Now we've just gone ahead and built out that relationship. So if we actually scroll down here to the bottom, we can see our new map. We're going to go ahead and recalculate it just to make sure everything is up to date. Great. Now from here, if we actually go back to our tag-based services, there he is. That's our service that we just deleted and now remade. And if we take a look at our map, it should be exactly the same as what we saw a couple minutes ago. Here it is. And just to dive in a little bit deeper into this map, we're actually going to open up this dependency view real quick. Not very important, but what I really want to do is look at this form for this specific Tomcat reward server. And if we scroll down, take a look at that. Here's some of those key tags, here's some of those key values that we were talking about earlier, such as our key named application, and in this case, it looks like there was a key named stage, but the reason why we got the naming convention we did is because of these values. So we've mapped our application value, rewards processing, with the stage it's in being QA. Now, if we were to look at the rest of these CIs, we'll notice that they also have some flavor of these keys as well, where we're grabbing those values and building out our service map. Hopefully this presentation was helpful and gives you a good starting point on how to get those cloud-based, tag-based service maps up and running. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.